Okay, so in this tutorial I'm going to go over how two blueprints can interact with each other. So for instance, we could have a light switch on a wall interact with a light blueprint, so that when you use a light switch it turns or it dims the light to an on and off state. We can also use this here, which I'm going to demonstrate to you today, which is very similar. We have a door made from our previous lesson, but in this lesson we're going to use a button on our wall. When we press the button it will open the door instead of walking near the door and pressing the key. So what we have at the minute with our door is once we walk up to it and press our key, it will open and close. But for instance, you may not want something like that. You may want like a keypad on a wall or a button on a wall. When you press it, it interacts with this other blueprint, and in this case it'll open it up. But it could be a light switch, it could be something else. It could interact with another gameplay event in your level. So to do that, well, first of all, you should really go back and watch my video on how to make a rotating door, because I'm going to be basically using a duplicate of that. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate that door in my content browser, and I'm going to call it door button. I'm going to delete this one. So this is a simplified version of that door rotation that we had. It doesn't have in the vector coordinates to initialize it, but it still works. So what happens is when you overlap with the box, it enables your input, and this here is the box. And then when you end that overlap, it disables your input. So when you've enabled it, you can press F and it will rotate the door, okay? And it's going through this branch. That means it's either going to play it or it's going to reverse it, depending on if this is true or false. And there's a switch here to set it to true, or sorry, set it to false, and to set it to true. But what we want to do is we want to kind of call upon a function inside this blueprint from another blueprint. So I'm going to delete my F here, okay? I'm going to right click and I'm going to make a custom event. And I'm just going to call this door open close. So that's my custom event, okay? So the only way this door is going to work now is if we call on this custom event. And we're not going to do it inside this BP. What we're going to do is we're going to right click in our content browser. We're going to make a new blueprint. It's going to be an actor. And we'll call this door underscore panel. And this is going to be very simple. Now the one thing I don't have for this in my components is I'm not going to have a static mesh. Okay, that's going to visualize where the door panel or the door button is going to be. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to make a box. Okay, I'm going to call this panel. And so I can see this in the level, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here, and you can see that it's got a hidden in game, which is ticked, which means when you play the game, you're not going to be able to see this box. So I'm going to have this unchecked so I can see that in the game, and that's going to be my visual cue to let me know that I'm near the button, I suppose. Just because I don't have a static mesh. In the graph editor, okay, I'm going to right click on my panel, add an event, begin overlap. I'm going to do the same thing, only this one's going to be end overlap. And it's going to be very similar to our door button, okay? So this here is going to enable input, so we're inside the box, we're going to enable input, and this is going to disable input. And our player controller is just going to be get player controller, and that's going to go into both. No point in creating another one. So that means then whenever I'm going to right click here, I'm going to get my action button E, okay? So when I press E, I'm going to have to call upon this door open close event or function, okay, inside my door button. So how am I going to get to that? Well, I can create a new variable, and I'm going to call this door underscore button, okay? I'm going to make it public, very important that we do that. And the variable type, okay, I'm going to search for door, and you can see what's going to come up here is an object reference for door button. So we're going to use that, So now we've got a variable which lets us access anything inside this blueprint. So I'm going to grab my door button, bring it across, I'm going to get it, I'm going to pull out from that there, I'm going to type in door, and you can see I can call on my function door open close. And that's it. So now when I walk into this box, it's going to enable my input. I press E, it's going to call on that function which is going to open and close my door. If I am not inside that box, it's going to disable my input, which means I can't use this. So I'm going to compile and save that. There's one more step for it to work, but it's pretty simple. So I'm going to bring in my door button, and I'm going to bring in my panel, place it over there. I'm just going to make it bigger so I ensure that I'm inside it. Okay, and the last thing that I have to do is to make sure that this panel here is working with this specific door. You can see that my door button variable that I created in my door panel blueprint, remember I made that public, it means that I can see it in the details panel when I have my panel selected, okay, in the editor. So it's asking me, so I've got none selected here. I can choose it from here, an actor, okay, it knows what kind of door buttons are in the level, because you don't want it working for every door. So what I can do is I can go right, I can pick it, and you can see there it's go pick door button 12, okay, so I'll pick that one. And now if I press play and I walk over to my panel and I press E, I can open the door. So that's how you communicate between two blueprints. Again, you could use this for light switches, you can use it for a multitude of different events inside your level.